This footage is from a Second World War gun camera and shows an RAF Hurricane being shot at during a dogfight of the Battle of Britain in September 1940. While on the face of it, there may not be anything unusual in that, what is interesting is that this gun camera footage comes from a Spitfire. The question arises, why is a Spitfire attacking a Hurricane? Also, did the pilot of the Hurricane survive? We can tell that the aircraft in question is a Hawker Hurricane by a central radiator under the fuselage. The Spitfire and the Messerschmitt Bf-109 had their radiators under the wings. The Boulton Paul Defiant had largely been withdrawn from frontline duties by this point in the battle, so we can safely discount that aircraft. We know that it is a Spitfire taking the film due to the information board on the footage. As with most gun camera sequences, there is an information board at the start which tells us some essential details. In the case of this footage, we know it was taken from the aircraft of Sergeant Alan Feary of 609 Squadron on the 26th of September 1940. The card describes the target as a Heinkel HE-111. Few can be seen shooting at the Heinkel at the beginning of the sequence. How can it be, therefore, that an experienced Spitfire pilot would shoot at what is clearly a Hurricane? It has to be remembered that we are not seeing exactly what the pilot saw. The gun camera had a much better view. Camera guns were first fitted to the Spitfires before the war for training purposes. Originally, they were bolted onto the upper surfaces of the wings. Following the outbreak of war, cameras were repositioned into the port wing route. During the Battle of Britain, not many Spitfires were equipped with cameras. Another question worth asking is, how did the view of the camera compare to that of the pilot? The pilot was looking through 2-inch thick armoured glass with thick frames on each side. Between the glass and the pilot was the gun sight. Add in a bit of oil from the engine, and his view is far worse than what we are seeing on the film. Also, looking at the film again, we can see that the Hurricane is flying almost directly into the sun, which would have further hampered Feary's vision. To be fair to Feary, he appears to fire off a couple of short bursts before turning away, likely realizing that it was a Hurricane that had appeared in his gun sight. But what of the Hurricane and its pilot? The first place to look is the Operations Record Book of 609 Squadron. The book shows us that Feary flew once on the 26th of September in Spitfire Z-4234 between 4 p.m. and 25 to 6. We know, therefore, that the sequence was filmed during that period. Looking at the Squadron Intelligence Report, we can see that 609 Squadron was involved in a large battle over Southampton that day with the Luftwaffe. That day, the Luftwaffe was targeting the Spitfire factory. We can also see from the records that Feary was flying as Yellow 3 and that he didn't file a combat report. He simply reported having an inconclusive engagement with bombers and fighters. Below that, the report tells us that gun camera films were taken by Feary as well as by pilots called Darley, Bisbee and Agazarian. We can now look to see which Hurricane squadrons were airborne at that time. According to RAF records, 5 Hurricane squadrons participated in the engagement over Southampton. They were 238, 303, 229, 213 and 607 squadrons. Rather than review all of the Hurricane combat reports, we can narrow down the search thanks to the film. In this still of the Hurricane, looking behind the roundel, we can see 2 top flat lines with the squadron code letters. The squadron code letters of those 5 squadrons were VK, AK, UP, RF, and RE. From this bill, we can determine that the code letters can only either be RF or RE, meaning that the Hurricane belongs to either 303 or 229 squadrons, both of which were based at Northolt. The operations record book of 303 Squadron mentions that they were attacked by Spitfires during this period. Reviewing the combat reports, one report stands out, that of Flight Lieutenant Athol Forbes.
As I broke away, I looked in the mirror and saw a trail of white smoke, apparently coming from my machine. Thinking I might be on fire, I prepared to bail out, but as no flames appeared, I did a tight turn and found that the smoke had ceased. I found afterwards that an explosive bullet had opened up my port wing, about a foot from the tip, leaving a jagged piece of metal sticking up, and I assumed that the white smoke was due to condensation caused by the jagged metal in the dive.
White smoke coming from a hole a foot inside the port wing tip is a key detail. If we review the sequence again, at the end we can see a puff of smoke appear before a flash of light appears near to the wingtip. This flash of light could be the jagged metal reflecting the sun through the hole in the wing. Smoke then streams back from a point approximately 1 foot in from the wingtip, as described by Forbes. The last lines of the combat report add further credence to the Hurricane being engaged by the Spitfire, being that flown by Forbes.
By the time I had finished investigating the white smoke, the enemy formation was breaking up and was at some distance. I was attacked by 2 Spitfires, and after evading them, it was too late, and I had to return to Northolt.
As we can see, not only did the Hurricane pilot, Athol Forbes, survive, he actually filed a quite nonchalant combat report about the incident. We actually have a photograph of Athol Forbes. The photograph was taken around an hour before Fury engaged his Hurricane. That day, King George VI paid a visit to Northolt and met with the pilots of 229 and 303 squadrons. In the photograph, Forbes can be seen shaking hands with the King. On standby to scramble at any time, the pilots can be seen in their flying suits. On the 26th of September 1940, 303 Squadron would claim 13 enemy aircraft destroyed without loss. The following day would prove a different story, with 2 pilots being lost, including the man standing next to Forbes, Ludwig Pazakowicz. The man standing next to Pazakowicz is Walter Zach, who was also shot down but survived, albeit significantly burned. And what of the Spitfire pilot Alan Fury, from whose Spitfire gun camera this footage originates? Well, less than 2 weeks after this footage was taken, Fury's Spitfire was engaged and hit by a Bf-109 over Weymouth. Fury remained with his aircraft as long as he could. When he did eventually bail out, he was too low and was killed when his parachute failed to fully deploy. He was 28 years old.
Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more updates, like and share. You can also help to support the channel at Patreon. Details are in the description box below.